fight to the end.
Hello YouTube, this is World War Black Ops Pro, and today we're going to talk about verticality, because verticality has always been sort of controversial on Call of Duty. But before I get into that, I'd like to say that, guys, I know the last video I uploaded was kind of long, but it was necessary to get through everything. The 30-minute video was necessary to get to every single thing, every single point I wanted to make. And originally it was going to be 20 minutes, but when I reached the 20-minute mark, I realized that I didn't have enough. I didn't say everything that I needed to say, so that's why I increased it 30 minutes, guys. So I mean, I try to keep my videos as short as possible, but if I don't want to leave anything important out or have to make follow-up videos on the same topic, so that's why it was kind of long. So hope you guys just bear with me on that. I still highly recommend you go check out my previous video, the how to fix the franchise video, because I do go over some very good points. So now, guys, where I'm camping right now, this mountain area, this is a perfect example of verticality. So see, as you can see, I'm high up above the ground and have a good vantage point of several areas in the map, and I use this spot to my advantage. And perhaps that's why they've been reducing verticality in the latest Call of Duties. But did you just see that double headshot there? So maybe that's why they've been reducing it, because you can get kills like this. You can just go on a tear, like camping up here. But verticality is an essential element of Call of Duty. All the great Call of Duties has some form of verticality. COD 4 had a lot of verticality. Those on the maps like Backlot, there was a rooftop you can get on. I mean, sure, it didn't have too much cover, but you could still get up on there. There was an air conditioning unit you can sit behind. On the maps like Crash, you get those verticality. You can get to the 4th floor of one of the buildings and snipe from the top. So there's verticality in that game. Now let's go to World at War. So World at War had some good verticality too. On the map Outskirts, the church tower, you get to the very top of that and snipe from there. On the map Mockin, you can go to one of the towers. You can go that watchtower in the middle of the ocean, and you can snipe from there too. And also, there was other spots like on Castle. You could snipe from either of the 2 towers on that map. So there was a lot of verticality in that game, and that's kind of what made those games great. Now let's go to Modern Warfare 2, because Modern Warfare 2 had some verticality. I mean, not it doesn't necessarily have to be towers, but second floor buildings. There was a lot of second floor buildings, like Terminal. There was a second floor building that overlooked the runway, the tarmac area, and kind of overlooked part of the airport. And in Modern Warfare 2, while there weren't really any towers, I can't really think of any, like, one of those great examples of verticality. The maps weren't flat, so that's good, because if the maps are flat and boring, they're boring, and I'll get into that more of that later. But let's go on to Black Ops 1. So Black Ops 1, of course, it has that rock in the middle of the map, but also on pretty much every map I can think of, there's at least a second floor building or some vantage point. In Nuketown, one of the best map ever created, has 2 houses. Imagine if the houses weren't there, or you couldn't access them, you couldn't get inside them, or if they're only 1st floor buildings. Imagine how much drastically that would change the flow of the game. It probably wouldn't be nearly as good of a map as it has been. So I mean, verticality definitely plays in there, and also in firing range, there's a tower that I don't often use. Some people use it, a lot of people don't. It's kind of hard to get up there, but it exists nevertheless. And there's also 2 buildings on either side of the middle part where you can go to access the 2nd floor, and accessing the 2nd floor makes a map a lot more interesting, because after Black Ops 1, which is the game where the series peaked, things started to go downhill, especially in terms of maps. And part of the reason why that was because the maps lacked any kind of verticality. They were boring, they were flat, they were not interesting. I didn't want to play them. I mean, part of that was probably to reduce camping, but when you reduce camping, you're basically forcing people to rush around, so people still aren't going to rush around. I mean, Advanced Warfare is a perfect example of that. You take away, you give rushers tools to rush, and people still aren't going to rush around. People are still going to lay prone in the bushes somewhere. People are going to sit at the back of the map. So yeah, that doesn't really reduce camping. That just makes the maps bad. So let's get into Modern Warfare 3. So in Modern Warfare 3, most of the maps are really flat, like Dome. Well, it did have that 2nd floor part, that catwalk part on the Dome itself. that part was hardly ever used, and the rest of the map was just flat. Now let's go to another map, like Interchange. No second floor whatsoever. You just basically, everyone was on the same level playing field. Everyone's on flat ground. It's just, that's not fun. And let's give another example, like Underground. The map Underground, there really was no verticality in that map. It was just flat. And an even better example is Village. Village, the buildings you could access, you could only access the first floor. There was no second floor spot. There was a rock in the middle, but that was not nearly as high as this one, and could be easily accessed from multiple points. So ultimately, those maps were not good. A lot of people didn't like Modern Warfare 3, and part of the reason was the maps. The maps were bad, and the reason why the maps were bad because they lacked verticality. That they weren't interesting. They weren't fun to play, and I don't blame people for not liking the maps. Now let's get on Black Ops 2, because Black Ops 2 made the same mistake. Now let's get into, there was a few maps that had almost no verticality, but Black Ops 2 did better in terms of verticality, but it had little to no verticality for most maps. Nuketown and Studio don't count because those are Black Ops 1 maps, so I'm not going to include them, but they did have verticality, and those are two good maps, some of the only good maps in that game, but maps like Slums. Slums was... It could have been a much better map had they allowed access to the second floor of some of the buildings. Maybe that mission part, and that maybe you open that up and put a staircase up there that led to a tower or something. I don't know. That could have been made a much better map had they allowed access to more points in the map. Because as it is, you're just running around the same level area, and it gets really boring real fast. And I mean that's part of the reason why the maps in that game weren't great. I don't think they were good, and a lot of people don't think they're good. Some people like them because they're just diehard rushers, but I'm obviously not a rusher, and a lot of you guys already know that by now, so I did not really enjoy Black Ops 2 that much. I mean, and part of the reason, guys, I use the shield is to counter all that. I mean, if they're not going to give me my verticality, they're not going to give me my building where I can camp in, I'm going to have to make up for that with the shield. So the shield counters shotguns, snipers, a lot of other things like that, a lot of other BS. But let's get into the next game, which is Ghost. Now, Ghost brought back verticality, which is one reason why I liked it. The maps, I actually think the maps were decent. They're not great. There was no, like, great maps. Like, there was actually a few terrible maps, like Sovereign and Strikezone. I don't like either of those maps. But all the other maps were playable, in my opinion, because they added the element of verticality. So Strikezone lacked verticality since it was too small, and everybody was kept on the same thing. And guys, Strikezone was so bad that even after the enemy team would like detonate the free chem strike they get out of the care package, it would degrade the map even further. So I would just call it Shitzone because that's all it was. It wasn't good. So yeah, there was no verticality, no second floor. I mean, if they opened up the second floor area of the pro shop, I mean, it might be a better map. It might be at least playable, but they didn't. So the map is bad. Sovereign, it was just basically a whole map inside of a building. There wasn't really any vantage points or any decent vantage points. That map was just bad. I didn't like it. So let's get into Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare, they added verticality, but they added a different type of verticality, and they overdid it because there is such thing as having too much of a good thing. They basically made it so that every single building has a rooftop which can be accessed, or most buildings can have rooftops which can be accessed. And what that creates is a bunch of roof camping, and roof camping is not good. You know, it's kind of game breaking almost. Like there wasn't too much roof camping in other games because there's not a lot of cover on roofs, and it just wasn't very rewarding. But in Advanced Warfare, that's really what a lot of people do. So that's kind of game breaking. But I also noticed that none of the verticality, or almost none of it's like a second floor building. Like it's not the traditional verticality that Call of Duty that we as Call of Duty fans are used to. Like there's no second floor building. Like that's the thing Ghost did right, the verticality part, because verticality makes maps interesting. Without it, it's just flat, and it's like Modern Warfare 3 maps and Black Ops 2 maps, which aren't that good. I mean, sure, they might maybe you're a rusher and you don't like people camping in second floor windows, but not all of us are rushers. Keep that in mind, guys. And that's probably why a lot of you guys didn't like Ghost, because the maps cater to campers, and in some ways they do. But really, like, I mean, why do you expect campers to change up their playstyle to play rushing games when you won't even change up your playstyle to play a camping game? I don't understand that, but because there is no right way to play Call of Duty, guys. So verticality is essential to any game, because I mean, if a map doesn't have verticality, it just makes the map boring. At least for me. Like, that's why I didn't like Modern Warfare 3 that much. I mean, that's why I didn't like Black Ops 2 that much until I got into the shield thing, and then after that, I'd only like Nuketown and Standoff. Those are, and those maps had verticality too, but there were like 3 ways into one room. Like, there was like 3 entrances in one room, and that's just ridiculous. There should be no more than 2, and some places should only have 1 entrance. So, yeah, guys, it just. Advanced Warfare, they took the traditional verticality from second and third store buildings where you can't window camp into a totally new thing where people camp on top of rooftops, which is even worse, guys. Which is worse from a rushing standpoint, because not only do you have to look at, instead of looking out of a window that was maybe a few feet above your head, you have to look at a rooftop which is probably like 20 feet above your head. So 20 or 30 feet above your head. I really don't know. I mean, I'm just making up numbers here, but it's just not good. And people camping Advanced Warfare like no other Call of Duty. It's like, it's almost worse than Ghosts in terms of camping, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, I personally don't have a problem with camping, but well, I know a lot of you out there do. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, hopefully in the next game that they add verticality, because the maps are key to success in any Call of Duty. Without the maps, without good maps, the Call of Duty is not going to last very long. How do you expect people to continue playing on a game with broken maps for months and months on end? How do you do this? So that's why Black Ops 1 was pretty good. All the maps were at least playable in my opinion. There was a few great maps in this game. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the commentary. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. This has been World at War, and see you guys later.